Hey everyone, Presale here, your second favorite Uniswap ape. So in today's video, I want to cover a really interesting upcoming project that I think is super early. What I actually want to try focus on more going forward is just to get the ones that are really early, at least in my opinion. And I do cover the Polkasot sales quite often because they're very hyped and it's nice to get more insight on, what the public is investing in. But I think, I want to try focus more on finding these gems very early, which I think Onomy was a great example of that. And now Impermax, I think, is also a really, really good example. I mean, what they want to do is very impressive. It's got an extremely low initial market cap, and I think these are the most important things. So let's have a look at some facts about it. So it's a logarithmic curve over 4 or 5 years with 20% at TGE. That's as much as we know about the tokenomics because it's so early. And the curve means that 60% of the tokens will be received by the end of the year. Big things are going to happen in terms of the VC. That's also some information. They will do an airdrop for the top liquidity providers. So it should be a big campaign like Uniswap and 1inch did. Obviously, that builds a lot of hype. Then Impermax has an effective $100,000 initial market cap, which is insanely low. This is based on the current information. It is technically more due to the airdrop, but I did hear that the airdrop is very minimal per person. So, you wouldn't sell that airdrop unless it's worth like 100x. So, I mean, that is just insane. Can you imagine a market cap of 100,000 initial? I mean, that would be the lowest I've heard of. Obviously, tokenomics still have to come out, so we'll see in due course. Their main competition is Alpha. And basically we'll go through the whole idea, but it's leveraging LP tokens. If we just have a look at the competition, 400 million market cap. I mean, starting market cap around 100,000. Let's say, okay, worst case with all the airdrop and everything, consider some of the future tokens released as well. Let's say 1 million. That's 400x alone, which is just insanity. So it really has huge potential, and you could even argue it could be better than Alpha. And if it is, then the potential is even 1000x on this. So these are the type of projects I really want to cover. Then DuckDAO had a sale for Impermax today, actually. And what's crazy is they only got 250 allocation per person. You had to hold $15,000 worth of Duck token to get that allocation. So it is one that has very low supply. So if you can get into this, I think definitely go for it. It's really, really good. As I said, it is early. Telegram, only 450 members, very active. Half of them are online, it's not bots or anything. So definitely join that. So let's go into what exactly it is. So here's an introduction to Impermax Finance. So it's an automated crypto lending platforms for users of Uniswap and other decentralized exchanges. So here's a very good example that they gave, just to understand it in layman's terms. So you are a liquidity provider with $1,000 worth of ETH locked up in Uniswap, and you're currently getting 25% APY. So you believe the yield will go up soon. So you want to increase your position to 10,000. The yield does indeed increase from 25% to 50%, and now you earn 5,000 per year in returns instead of 500 you might have otherwise. So you might be wondering, how did you increase your position? So you took out a loan to leverage your LP tokens times 10, and then you paid it back after earning those high yields. So you might think it sounds too good to be true, and I think that's why if they pull it off, it can be such a big idea with, huge upside in the pre-sale, since that's what I cover in the end. So as they say here, it's lending made for LP holders. So that's an industry first, as they say, that lets liquidity providers use their LP tokens as a collateral for their loans. So if you don't know, when you take a loan on these platforms, you have to put a collateral there, which is more than what you loan. So lending made for LP holders. So as I say, it's an industry first, and it's designed to let Uniswap liquidity providers to use their LP tokens as collateral for their loans. So if you don't know what it is, your LP tokens is when you provide liquidity for a pool. For example, as I said at the top, ETH, you get an LP token for that specific pool. So what Impermax does is it lets you use those tokens as collateral for the loan you take, which is really innovative, and I think it has huge potential. So as they say, holding LP tokens that can't be used as collateral has always been an opportunity cost for liquidity providers, and Impermax removes this cost for billions of dollars of value currently held in LP tokens. Since Impermax is permissionless, anyone can create a new lending pair, and thus every token pair on Uniswap will be supported on day one, which also is super impressive. As I say, a key part of their design is that you'll only be able to borrow the tokens that are represented by your liquidity provider token. So if you're providing liquidity for ETH-DAI and you have those LP tokens, then you can only borrow ETH and DAI. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And as they say, the advantage of this is that you'll be able to borrow higher amounts with a lower liquidation risk than other lending platforms, which is also very impressive. So you can choose your terms with Impermax. As they say here, the app lets you select the amount of leverage you want and shows a range of price changes that would result in your collateral being liquidated. So obviously there is this risk, and you can choose any risk reward level you want. And here's an example of the interface. Then you can provide liquidity with no impermanent loss. And this is for the lender side. So the lender receives a guaranteed interest rate with loan repayment backed algorithmically. This means that with loan repayment backed algorithmically, this means the lender can indirectly provide liquidity to Uniswap and earn returns with no risk of impermanent loss. So that risk is shifted to the borrower. Obviously, the borrower is taking a bit more risk to make more returns, but as the lender, you're taking much less risk. You make less returns, but it's guaranteed returns. So now let's go to their website. As we already went through, their DeFi ecosystem that enables liquidity providers to leverage LP tokens. So this is a nice infographic kind of that shows a basic understanding of how it works. So you as the lender provide your tokens to the borrower. In return, the borrower locks LP tokens that they have as a collateral, and they pay you interest as well. Then the borrower provides liquidity to the automated market maker. Uniswap gives you the LP token and rewards the borrower with yield, obviously whatever percentage that is. In terms of the borrower's benefits, so if you're borrowing from the lender, you can use any Uniswap v2 LP token as a collateral, borrow a token using collateral backed by that token, earn yields on Uniswap with leverage up to 10x. Risk is reduced for impermanent loss. Lenders benefits, so you can earn interest on any token tradable on Uniswap, indirectly provide liquidity to Uniswap without any exposure to impermanent loss, which I think is really huge. And for me personally, I don't provide liquidity because of impermanent loss. And if you want to learn what that is, best to read the article on that because it goes very into depth. You need just one token to be a lender, and your loan is collateralized by LP tokens backed by the tokens you lent. So now let's go through their pitch deck. As we already said, it's the first and only platform designed to use Uniswap LP tokens as collateral for automated lending and virtually eliminates the risk of impermanent loss to liquidity providers. As you can see, lending on DeFi has really grown exponentially. I mean, almost every experienced person I know in the space is farming or providing liquidity in some other way. So this really is hitting a huge target audience. So let's have a look at some of the problems that they address here. So problem one, other lending platforms require borrowers to over collateralize, putting at risk over 300% of the amount borrowed on average. So when you take a loan on other platforms, you have to put as a collateral much more than what you actually borrow. So Impermax collateralization model offers much less risk to the borrower's collateral with no risk of default to the lender. This allows investors to achieve much higher leverage for a given risk tolerance. So if we go to problem 2 here, so if the prices drop, the borrower's collateral is at risk of liquidation. With any collateralized DeFi loan, there is a risk that the price of the collateral may drop below the value of a loan. When this happens, the collateral is liquidated to repay the lender. Obviously, this is the biggest risk for the borrower. So what Impermax does is it allows better liquidation thresholds in popular platforms like Maker and Compound, even on loans without leverage. So for Maker and Compound, their market caps are really high, and if Impermax gets anywhere near there with what they're promising, they should, that's an insane gain. And the reason this works is because Impermax's loans are 100% collateralized by LP tokens that are strictly matched in value to the assets borrowed, which we discussed earlier. Saying that if the collateral is ETH DAI, they can only borrow ETH or DAI. Then to solve impermanent loss, as you know, this is a major risk factor for liquidity providers. And like I said, why I don't provide liquidity. So what they do is they let lenders offer crypto loans and earn yield on their LP tokens with no risk of impermanent loss or loan default. So Uniswaps and automated market makers will be naturally incentivized to support or even promote Impermax, since it potentially lowers risk to their users and could result in higher LP participation overall. And that's also huge. If Uniswap and other of these automated market makers, promote Impermax, that is huge, because what they are offering is really impressive. So in terms of their supported tokens and exchanges, when it releases, every pair on Uniswap will be supported automatically, unlocking over 3 billion USD in LP token value on the day of launch. Then the IMEX token, there's only going to be 100 million total tokens. Initial distribution will involve an airdrop to top Uniswap liquidity providers. So that's an incentive for people, to provide liquidity, and it's almost like an airdrop like Uniswap did, and 1inch, which they drop tokens to Uniswap liquidity providers. Also to note, the IMEX token is a simple fixed supply governance token, similar to Uniswap's Uni token. IMEX holders will have voting power on interest rate, fees, distribution of earnings, and all future Impermax products. In terms of their revenue model, so lenders collect at least 80% of the interest income, and Impermax collects 20% of each payment. And there is a 0.1% flat borrowing fee on each loan, which is similarly split. And these fees can be adjusted with the governance. They're also going to have yield farming with leverage. So the tokenomics plan allocates 40% of the supply to farming rewards over 4 years. And it will distribute IMEX tokens to borrowers based on their size of their loans. So next up, I'm not going to go through the white paper, but you can have a look through it yourself if you want to go even more into depth, but it is extremely impressive. You can just see by a glimpse here that it's an impressive white paper. So if we go to the website, have a look at their roadmap quickly and their team. So the roadmap, price oracle is ready, white paper ready, Impermax Uniswap V2 core contracts is ready. Everything is ready and they're ready for launch. So once it starts, they want it to run itself, and the community decides its future basically with the governance. So the Impermax team is Simone Rigolon and Brian Tinsman. And you might think, okay, it's two-man team, that's not pro. But of course, public team, and I did have a look at their LinkedIn and it is super impressive. So that is pro. So overall for Impermax, tokenomics will have to come out, of course, but based on that initial market cap of around 100,000 effectively, if you exclude the airdrop, that's insane. Public team, the idea is huge. Its competitors are extremely high market cap, so I think the upside is just enormous. And for my ratings, I always look at the potential upside. Obviously, that's the most important factor to consider, along with public team and everything like that. But just because of the upside of this token, I have to give it a Trust Pro, which is my best rating. Obviously, it could be adjusted depending on other info that comes out. If the tokenomics turn out not to actually be like that, it could go down in rating. But if it's true, it's definitely a Trust Pro, because there just is so much upside, and I really like that. So let's see if the ladies on Tinder like it too. So for this video, I am still in Prague. Prague went very well, so I'm going to ask them about Impermax as well. Next video, I'll be somewhere else, so that'll be a surprise. But anyways, let's see. Tina, I guess. I said, do you like providing liquidity? She said, I don't know, do I? I said, yes, you do, which is why you should take a look at Impermax. Takes away your risk of impermanent loss. Annette, I said, does Impermax sound cool? She said, I have no idea what it is. And then I said, does it sound pro though? She says, totally, that's pro. She said, what is it? So I said, I agree. It's a DeFi ecosystem that will enable liquidity providers to leverage their LP tokens. And I've linked her the website. Hopefully she checks it out and tries to invest. Maybe she'll thank me one day. Julie, I said, do you like providing liquidity? She said, what do you mean? I said, giving out liquidity. She said, you want me to give you money? I was like, no, I don't want your money. If you want free money though, invest in Impermax Presale. She said she's lost. So I said, take my advice and thank me when you own 2 houses in Prague. Then Eva, I said, will you invest in a project called Impermax? She said, you should tell me the details, which is smart. You should always know before you invest, even though, you know, us Uniswap apps just invest anyways. Basically, you can get pro interest on your money without the risk of losses. Is that pro? She said, interesting. The risk of losses is everywhere. Don't tell me it's not. I said, that's where Impermax comes in. Eliminates that risk. I agree, it's revolutionary, which is why you should invest at all costs. She said, wonderful. And I said, I agree. So Andrea, I said, don't you hate how you risk impermanent loss when providing liquidity? She said, is this a metaphor or are we talking economics? I said, another metaphor is that Impermax is going to the moon. Then she said, I don't get it. So I said, you can't get it now. Maybe at a later stage you can get it on Uniswap. If you can get in the pre-sale though, that would be pro too. Then Sophia, I said, same question. Don't you hate how you risk impermanent loss when providing liquidity? She said, dear, I don't hate anything, even though I have no idea what you're talking about. I just finished medical faculty, still have a lot to learn in business economy field. Give me some time. I said, well, do you hate losing money? She said, you're really interested in knowing the answer, I see. Well, I wouldn't be delighted if I lost some money or whatever. I appreciate. I guess my emotion would vary depending on the frequency and amount. I said, come on, everyone hates losing money, and that's why you should check out Impermax. Nullifies the risk of impermanent losses. So pro. Then Susanna, same question to her. She said, yes. And I said, I agree. Check out Impermax. It solves this problem. And she said, exactly. And I said, you clearly invested in their pre-sale because she knows what she's talking about. Then Annette, I said, would you invest in a project called Impermax? She said, not until I know something about it. I said, it allows you to leverage your LP tokens so you can borrow more tokens to increase your yields with minimal risk. So hopefully Annette checks it out because that is a pro deal, you have to say. So anyways, that wraps up my video and my Tinder review. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. As usual, leave a like and subscribe. It always helps me. Join my Telegram and announcement group, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.